Hey everybody, it's Karen from Five Spokes Fitness. Welcome to episode 2 of How I Built This Ride. This is where I take one of my profiles and share with you how I built that using 6 key building blocks. So what we're going to go over today is Ride the Ratio. That's the profile name. If you subscribe to Five Spokes, then you will have received this a week ago. So a week ago, last Monday. So go ahead, pull that up. You have the playlist, the Spotify playlist that goes with the profile. If you don't subscribe, just go out to our website, Five Spokes Fitness, look under instructor and profiles, and it's there. So it's Ride the Ratio. So let's get started. Number 1, all rides start with inspiration. What was my inspiration for this ride? It's really 2 things. Number 1 is, after the last workshop on music, one of the instructors said, hey, I'd like to better understand how to build my profiles using work to rest ratio. So that was on my mind. And then secondly, a friend of mine did an awesome training class on breath for my Saturday morning spin class. So it was awesome. So I had those 2 things on my mind, work to rest ratio and breath. So obviously totally connected. That was my inspiration. Second thing, goal, right? So what then would be the goal for my ride? Because remember, all rides have a goal, right? Your profile supports achieving the goal. So for my riders, the goal for this ride was to create a better awareness of what their RPE is at just below threshold, and then just above threshold. I love to play in that space. And so then a secondary goal became, for me as the instructor, like to have it front and center, have that work to rest ratio front and center with the profile. So 2 goals, one for me, one for my riders. So, and then, okay, so what are you going to name it, right? Remember, give your ride a title. It's like your playbill. It advertises to your riders what to expect. And also it's, just a lot more enticing than saying, oh, this is ride A3952, right? So I like alliteration. I landed on Ride the Ratio, creative or not. That's what it ended up being. All right. What vibe did I want it to have, right? You want to have a vibe for your ride. You want to have that in mind. It's really going to help you pick out your music for your playlist. So the vibe I had in mind for this was, I definitely wanted, it's going to be challenging. And I wanted learning to take place, but I didn't want it to feel like a grind. I've been in rides where it's just drill. And yeah, it's challenging, but it feels like a grind, and I didn't want that. So I knew I'd probably end up using some like pop music, maybe a little EDM. I did end up using a trance song, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So vibe, fun, but challenging, not a grind. All right, structure is next. So how was I going to structure this ride to meet the goal? Before I jump into that, I'm actually going to share my screen so that we can quickly review work to rest ratio, and also the RPE chart, kind of, I'll show you, right? Picture is worth 1,000 words. Nobody wants 1,000 words from me, I can tell you that. So, all right, showing my screen here. Up here, work to rest ratio, super simple table. Remember, the good news is you can remember what this means because it's kind of self-explanatory. So that's work to rest ratio. Wanted to have that front and center. I love this little graphic right here. I wanted this ride, as I structured it, to play in this middle space. I love this middle space. It's the transition, right? So you're going from aerobic threshold, work intensity is lower. I love just bumping right up against threshold, hitting it, and then going slightly over, going into your anaerobic energy system, right? So aerobic, you guys remember, you're primarily burning fat for fuel. Anaerobic, you're crossing over and you're primarily using carbs. So I wanted to play right in this space, right below, at and above threshold. Another way of looking at this, right, is, especially if you don't have power meters, rate of perceived exertion, which your rider should be aware of anyway. So again, playing in this space right here, the like 4 to 7, we're playing in that sort of hard to very hard place. Okay, so how did I structure my ride? Let's bring that up and talk about it. So here we go. My warm-up, I wanted to extend the warm-up because I knew I would be talking about threshold, just going back over that with my riders. I didn't get into, you know, the work to rest ratio. That's what we do behind the scenes. I mean, you can talk about it, but I chose not to. Because when you're using smart work to rest ratio, building in recoveries for your riders, what you're doing is setting them up for success. If you've ever taken a class with an instructor where it's just go, 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 hard, 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 faster, 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 you know, it's like, no, 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 that's not how our body works. So super important, okay? So then you can see with my structure here, first thing I did was do a quick threshold assessment. 2 minutes on, 2 minutes off, right? So it's 1 to 1 because we want them to find threshold. It feels hard, very hard. They're seated. They have to keep good form, all right? If you have power meters, capture these with an interval and then take the average of the watts for each of those 2 minute efforts. We have videos, articles, all kinds of stuff on the website, Five Spokes Fitness, that goes into detail as to how to do this. But this is kind of a quick and dirty to start your class off with. You do it 2 times because usually the first time they either go too easy or too hard, right? So do that, establish threshold for the ride. Tell your riders, all right, we're going to be riding just below that, at that, and then above that. Bam. So you can see then I do 45-minute rides. So I figured out the math on that, and I have them doing 4 rounds. And then for the 5th one at the end, you'll see I switch it up just a little bit. I said, all right, we're going to go fast and we're going to go hard because the focus of this ride is intensity. Then I had them add some resistance, intensity drop to a moderate effort, and then just to kind of give them a little reprieve, and then bam, I wanted their best effort for 2+ minutes, cross that finish line. That's how we wrap this ride. Okay. Then we went into our cool down and stretch, of course. That's the structure. So let's quickly hit then on the playlist. I wish I could play even snippets of the music, but I can't. It'll get flagged as copyrighted and it'll shut my video down. So anyway, very quickly, playlist. Remember, every song in the structure of your ride, beginning, middle, and end, has a purpose. Overall purpose of song selection in your playlist, support the ride, support the goals of the ride. So my first song, right? Remember, goal of the first song is to help you set the vibe, also support what you're saying. So you don't want anything overpowering because you're talking, you're setting up the ride, you're letting your riders know what to expect. This is great remix of Dangerous. It slows it down a little bit. Great for a first song. It's a little over 5 minutes. I wanted something that's 5 minutes because I knew my intro would be just a little bit longer than normal because I wanted to talk about threshold and in a little more detail than I usually do. All right. Then remember, after your warm-up song, that very first song, it has to signal game on, right? It has to be a clear change because as we talked about in our Using Music Masterfully workshop, we love to think our writers are always listening to us, but sometimes they're not, especially in the beginning of the ride, they're a little fidgety. So bam, you want this to help you cue, we're on. Now in this ride, it had to be that way because, or especially because we're expecting them to hit threshold in a 2-minute duration. So I picked Let Me Think About It. I love the way that song starts, right? With this profile, it is not a one-to-one song to effort relationship, right? I structured this playlist such that I could hit go and it's cumulative, right? So it's a little more challenging than if you have something that's very clear. Oh, during this song, we're doing this. A couple more things to point out. Right here, the song, The Best. This is that song that gives the riders a reprieve, a chance to refuel, to re-energize, to help them get ready for the last effort, which actually does line up with this last song, Fallen Angel. So remember, that song that helps your riders like just refuel, it's a great opportunity to pick something that is very positive and motivating. And this is one of the best, no pun intended, songs for that, right? And then into Fallen Angel, I picked, it's a trance song. It's 6 minutes. It aligns perfectly. It allows the riders to go fast and hard out of the gate, then kind of slow down with adding intensity, and then bam, last 2 minutes, I'm like, best effort, highest gear, fastest that you can go, good form, good breath, 2 minutes, I will see you at the finish line, bam. And then wrapped it with one of my favorite cool downs, Love of Strings, Moby, Never Ever Gets Old. Okay. That's how I built this ride. If you have any questions, just go ahead, leave me a comment on YouTube or email me. Love to hear from you. Love to answer the questions. They're always my inspiration for new ideas. One last thing I will say is if you want to take your profile, once you do like a draft of it, put it in playlistmachinery.com. If you're using Spotify, it'll connect to your Spotify account. It'll give you BPM energy. You can kind of do a check on that. Like, how did I do if you're shooting for a specific BPM? Yeah, so that's it. As always, stay awesome and happy holidays. I will see you next time.